And you will be advancing the slides because of our technical difficulties.
Exactly. So just let me know when you're ready to go. And here we are. I'm going to turn it over to you so you can get us started.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fourth in our series of Human Design Newcomer webinars. And today we're going to talk about the 12 profiles. Profile is an astonishing thing in human design, and it's a vast and complex subject. So we're going to go over some of the basics today. All right, Lynette, let's get going. Again, we will be taking questions at the end of the webinar, so you can post them in the chat or the Q&A panel, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar today. All right. So profile. Profile is the costume you wear on the stage of life. We all have mythological costumes that we're born to wear, and we grow into our roles. The longer we operate according to our authentic nature, the more easily and gracefully we wear our costumes. So understanding your profile and the angle allows you to see what costume you are wearing so you can get clearer on the role you're here to play. And Lynette and I were talking yesterday a little bit about this, and we both agree, at least for us, that more and more of my profile and how it operates through my design is revealed to me every single day. It's not something you can read the description, I think, and really grok right away. Do you agree, Lynette?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I do. Profile's the kind of thing that Ra likened it, and I love this description, to a suit of clothing that you're wearing. Now, there are 12 profiles. You come in as a certain profile. If you're a 1-3 profile, you don't get to be a 6-2. You are who you are. And when you're operating correctly with your energetic nature, with your mechanics, the clothing fits more comfortable. And the thing about profile is you don't have to do anything with it. It just takes over your life. So it can be really, sometimes you see it right away. People usually relate to it. And if they don't, I generally will check their birth data. But it can really take time to sink into it and see it start to take over.
Yes. It's a profound knowing. Now, Ra was a 5-1 profile, a heretic investigator, and here to investigate and share his heresy by making an impact in the world. And he did that indeed. Okay, Lynette. So on your human design chart, where do you find your profile? This is my chart. I'm also a 5-1 profile. And you find your profile in the lines of your personality, sun and earth, and your design, sun and earth. So in my example, I have gate 54, line 5 in my personality, sun, and gate 53, line 5 in my personality, earth. That makes me a 5. And then design, gate 32, line 1, design sun, and design earth, gate 42, line 1, which makes me a 5-1. 5-1 profile.
There she is.
Yeah, and profile is a lot about your trajectory in life. Your profile and your angle is about your trajectory in life. And it's fascinating, and I wish we had time to go through it in detail today. It's a deep and complex subject, so we are going to be talking about the basics, the surface today. All right, Lynette.
The house metaphor. Okay. So you've got, this is a great slide, Ruth. So this is a really great metaphor to use to understand the hexagram structure. When you look at the chops of the hexagrams, the lines, they're either solid or broken. We are looking at them from the bottom up. So the first line is the first floor of the hexagram. So this is what we call the investigator. So I don't want to jump ahead here, Ruth. I don't know if you had something planned to say about this. Otherwise, I'll just go through it.
That's okay, because it can absolutely be repeated. It's helpful.
Okay, so the foundation is the first metaphor of the house. This is the investigator line, and it's introspection. It's looking deeply at the foundation. So what you have to understand is, if the foundation of the house is not solid, the house will not stand. So anybody that's got a first line in their profile, they're really going to be, there's that insecurity there and wanting to investigate things until they make sense. So you really got to give yourself time to do that. And then when you get to the second line, so this is a line of projection, and this is called the hermit. And if we stay with the house metaphor, this is the person who's in the house being a natural expression. Okay, they're just natural at what they do, and it doesn't really have any investigation. It's just a given. And this can kind of make people uncomfortable if they don't understand why it's there, having a natural talent or knack. So you get to the third line of the house, and you've got the stairs. Now, for those of you that are third lines, you guys know that this is all about trial and error. And some of the other pictures I've seen with the third line metaphor, it's really funny because the person is actually, it shows a person, and they're walking up a flight of stairs, balancing in one hand a tray with wine glasses on it, and in the other hand they're carrying a folded chair. And you can just see you're walking up the stairs, balancing glass and carrying a chair. Welcome to the third line. This is trial and error and really learning how to adapt and discover something new. Okay, it's transition, and it's built for that. And then when you get to the fourth, well, you get to something that's completely different. So this is externalizing. Whenever I think of my fourth line friends, it took me a long time to understand the fourth line. This is somebody that really is here to externalize to their network. It's working with the network is what it's doing. And it's, let me look at my notes here. It's a really fixed energy. So this is going to be the opportunist. So that's where the network comes in. The opportunist is somebody that's working with people they know in their network. And then you've got over here, if you look at the fifth line, this is when we get up to the heretic. And it's said that, Ross said that the hopes and dreams of humanity rest on the shoulders of the fifth line. No pressure there. And this is really more about people coming to the fifth line, the very seductive fifth line, and projecting onto the fifth line that they have something that they can give, a savior quality, right? So, and then when you get to the top, the sixth line's really interesting because it looks like it's part of the hexagram, but it's really kind of in the ethers. And this is the role model, people that are really here to develop an objective perspective and turn whatever, pessimism they encountered into some kind of objective optimism and be a role model of themselves. So, Ruth, do you want to add anything to this?
I think the next slide will be able to add a little.
There you go.
Yes, and here is the hexagram structure that Lynette was referring to. We start at the bottom with the first line foundation. The hexagram is really broken into two trigrams. So the lower trigrams are lines 1, 2, and 3. 1 being the foundation of the lower trigram, 2 being the projection, the outward projection, and 3 being the martyr, the trial and error. And then we move up to the upper trigram, lines 4, 5, and 6, where the lower trigram is more introspective, more inward focused. The upper trigram is more outward focused. Again, the fourth line being the foundation of the upper trigram. The fifth line, and it's really said that the fifth line more or less is the culmination of the hexagram. the hopes and dreams of humanity, writing on that. And the sixth line, the roof of each hexagram, is really looking beyond, looking to what's coming next, the role model. And the upper trigrams are more externalizing, where the lower trigram is more internalizing.
Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, it's divided up. And there are other ways to divide up the hexagram, but this is just the basic way when looking at starting to look at profiles.
So the primary roles in the lower trigram, which is a personal process and self-absorbed. And I love to bring in, before we go too much further, that human design language is amoral. There's no good or bad. There's no judgment here. It just is. So when we say self-absorbed, it's more personal. It's a more introspective type of quality. Line 1, the investigator. If you have a line 1 in your profile, you more than likely, and I do for sure, investigate things. I need to have a deep, deep, deep understanding of things that I'm interested in. It's introspective. It's like a chameleon, and it's very empathetic. The foundation. First lines feel very insecure if they don't have a strong foundation, and can, and for me, this, I can give you a quick story about starting to study human design. And I was a long ways into my studies before I would really share anything with anyone, because I didn't feel I knew enough to even begin to share. And to this day, I still feel like I just don't know enough. I'm constantly studying and investigating and trying to get a more secure foundation in the knowledge.
Thank you.
Yeah, line 2, the hermit. Lynette, you can speak to this.
Yeah, the hermit's really interesting. So I'm a 6-2 profile, so I'm a hermit on the body side, which means my body is shy, and I've got natural talents that my body can, do whatever. And what happens here is there's a projection outward. Now, I don't know that, but my body's projecting outward to other people that I have special talents and I can just do things. So people will come and they will call you out. It's said that the second line receives the call, or many calls. So, hey, Lynette, come and do that thing that you can do, or how do you do that? That's a question I get all the time. And I don't really know how I do what I do. It's the natural quality that comes out. But the thing about being a second line is that can make you really uncomfortable if you don't understand it, because human beings generally feel uncomfortable if they can do something and they feel like they haven't earned it. It starts to get kind of strange. So the natural is exactly that. It's the natural, and it's projecting outward. And that attracts people to call out the hermit. And they can be really shy. They can be like, leave me alone, leave me, I'm a hermit, leave me alone. And sometimes they can miss the right call, but others see the projection. Yeah. You want to go on to the third line?
Yeah, the third line, the martyr, the trial and error people. Now, neither Lynette nor I have a third line in our profile, but this is about trial and error, mutation, adaptation. Think of the guy walking up the stairs with the wine glasses in the chair. It's a very, very deep process of discovery. And third lines are very resilient. So if you have a third line in your profile, I would imagine that you can relate to this, learning the hard way. Life bumps into you, you bump into life. And depending on whether it is a conscious or personality part of your profile, or your design body part of your profile, this will express in different ways. And we'll be getting into that in just a little bit. So the upper trigram, these are transpersonal and an outer directed process, more external process. So line 4, the opportunist, as Lynette was explaining, this is about externalization and friendliness. If you have a fourth line in your profile, your network or your circle of people around you is very, very important. The fourth line is the bridge, more or less between the lower and upper trigram. So fabulous. Lynda Bunnell has a fourth line. She's a 4-1 profile, the opportunist investigator. And unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. She's out of the country. But 4-1s have a very fixed process. Fifth line. Now, I have the fifth line in my personality. So I am a conscious heretic. The heretic is for strangers. They are the universalizers, the marketers. People project onto the heretic what they need to see. The riding in on the white horse, the general. And fifth lines can be very mysterious. And others project upon the fifth line more or less what they want to see or what they need from that person. So it's said that fifth lines are nobody really knows a fifth line. They're kind of mysterious.
Yeah, and they can be paranoid too. So you fifth lines that sometimes feel paranoid, like, what do these people want with all the projections? You don't need to worry about that. That's okay. Yeah, we love our fifth lines.
I'm a 5-1, so I'm paranoid and insecure.
There you go. All right. Okay. And then you get to the sixth line. That's me. I'm a 6-2. And like I said, it looks like it's part of the hexagram, but it's in the ethers. And it's so, you know what, it's so difficult for me to explain my profile to people. I just sort of feel like aloof is such a great word for the sixth line. You know, the administrator, the optimist, the peacemaker. And the thing that's interesting about the sixth line profile, I can't remember if it's on in the slides, but anytime you've got a sixth line, this is a tripart process, meaning until you get to the Saturn return, which is a cycle in human design, right around 29, 30 years old, you go through what we call a third line process. So it's all this trial and error. And then right around the Saturn return, you move up under the roof where this protective quality shows up. And it feels protective and it's really nice. And then when you reach the Chiron in your 50s, you come off the roof or you get drug off the roof one way or another, and the protective quality leaves. And that's really when you're here to bring that role model quality. But you know, the optimism is something that you really learn to develop when you're on the roof after you've gone through the trial and error phase, hopefully. And yeah, you get that bird's eye view. You can really just objectively see many different things, and they're always looking beyond the next thing. That's a really good way to put it. Looking at the next hexagram, in fact. So yeah, it's really different. Do you want to add anything, Ruth?
No, I think that's perfect. And you understand the sixth line so much better than I do.
Oh, I really don't. It's such a mystery.
So we have 12 profiles, as we explained. And here you can see the progression. When you get the recording, you'll have this as a reference so that you can see how the profiles unfold.
Right. And just remember too, just remind yourself, anything that's in black on the personality side, you're going to have conscious access to. Anything that's in red is more of a surprise. So yeah, sometimes you can take time to get acquainted with your profile and your style in life.
Yeah, and can we go back one sec?
Hold on. There you go.
In the chart, the red, the design side is on the left and the personality is on the right. But when we read a profile, we always refer to the personality or the black first and then the design. Thus the one in black and the 3, when you look at your chart, it would actually be the 3 would be on the design side and the 1 would be on the personality side. So
yeah, thanks, Ruth. I always forget that not everybody is studying this like crazy people like we are. We really get into this. So yeah, so for Ruth, she's a 5-1, and that's how you would read it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. So now we're going to go through the 12 different profiles in a little bit more detail. we have the 1-3 profile, and the 1-3 is a right angle personal destiny. And wow, I wish we had time to go into the angles. There are quite a bit more right angles than left angles, and there's one juxtaposition, the 4-1. And for this purpose of today, we're just going to talk about right angles being a more personal destiny. Okay. The 1-3 is the investigator martyr, and that is conscious introspection and unconscious adaptation. So your conscious 1 is focused on finding inner strength by establishing a strong foundation, while your unconscious 3 bumps into things to learn what doesn't work well through a process of discovery, the 1-3s. And this is our first profile. Famous 1-3s, Edgar Cayce, H.G. Wells, Harry Houdini, and Vincent van Gogh. I know a lot of 1-3s. I have a lot of 1-3s in my life. The third line is very resilient. I mean, they may get knocked down, but they jump right back up and ready for the next thing. So, and they investigate deeply what they bump into that is of interest to them. So they become very, very deep discoverers of things in life. And they find out what works for them by going through this process of finding out all the things that don't work.
Trial and error. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We love our third lines. If you have a third line in your profile, you're going to have a sense of humor, because it's sometimes you can see you'll spill the milk, or you'll break the glass, or you'll bump into something, or something will bump into you. But a lot of the times it's just happening, you know, and it's one of our most innocent profiles. It's the most innocent profile, really self-absorbed in their own process. And did you want to say anything else, Ruth? I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, no, please.
Okay. Well, I've just got some little bullet points here that just to go through really quickly, but super innocent, have a sense of humor with trial and error. Like Ruth said, the way that you're going to learn what works in life is by learning all the stuff that doesn't work. And you're going to discover something. And remember, if this is your profile, you're built for this. You need something solid in your life. You need to see that things work, which is kind of funny, but you really need to be a self-provider in a sense, and really give yourself time to investigate with the first line, and then go through that trial and error process with the third line. So, I mean, we're talking about it in a separated way, but it's not separated, and that's why it can take so long to get used to it. So, yeah, very self-absorbed personal destiny.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay. Do you want to start, Ruth?
Yes, the 1-4 profile, another right angle personal destiny, is the investigator opportunist. So again, we have conscious introspection and unconscious externalization, which is quite a combo. So your conscious 1 is focused on grasping the foundation of whatever you're interested in, while your unconscious 4 takes this knowledge base and externalizes it to its network. And people like Albert Einstein, Gloria Steinem, Kamal, and Muhammad Ali had this profile. The 1-4 profile, it's, you know, so we have a conscious 1, which is very introspective, and the unconscious 4, which is very interested in externalizing. So it's going to be like the push-pull. And although they might seem at odds and opposite, it actually works very beautifully together to spend time alone, focused on what you need to understand very deeply. And then once you do, take it out to your network of friends. Anyone with the 4 in their profile, their network, their circle of friends becomes very, very important to them.
Don't ever throw your Rolodex into the fire if you're a 4th line.
Mm-hmm.
They'll abdicate. It doesn't mean that you're going to do what other people want you to do. okay? If it's not correct for you and you don't agree with what somebody else is doing, you will abdicate and say, okay, fine, go play in your own sandbox. But the network is important to the fourth line. So burning bridges, not such a great idea. Doesn't mean you have to follow them. Very rigid. The 1 and the 4 together, these are meant to be rigid. So they're really here to be an authority and deeply investigate things, like Ruth was saying before about that first line investigator. And then they're here to externalize what they've investigated once they feel secure based on their strategy and authority, right? They're here to externalize to their network what they've investigated. So it can be really friendly. Fourth line body can be really friendly. They're looking for opportunities to share with other people. And remember, you know, this is not a third line. There's not this capacity to really, you know, to be super, it's, you know, the third line's very resilient in as far as experimenting. So the fourth line's really different. It's not that you can't experiment, but you're not here to explore it so much as you are to investigate it and externalize it. So hopefully it doesn't confuse everybody. But it's really like the first line's here to establish the foundation and then become the authority, which takes time, and then maintain the authority and the foundation. And I love this. I remember hearing Ross say that the 4 is the foot soldier of continuity. And that's because of the network, right? They keep the pressure on to what the 1 has established. So the 1 is investigated, and then the 4 externalizes it, and they're the foot soldier, and they keep it going. They keep it alive. So it's a kind of a rigid profile, and it's really meant to be that way. And it loves harmony. It's a harmonic profile too. So yeah, love our 1-4s. I have my oldest son's a 1-4, and I never understood him because everybody else in my family is a left angle profile. Like I'm a 6'2", and my daughter's a 5'1", and my other son's a 6'2", and I never understood the 1-4 profile in my oldest son until I came to human design. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Very different. Okay, hold on, my things. There we go. 2-4. Okay, Ruth. What you got?
4 profile, another right angle, personal destiny, has the conscious projection. Now we're going up to the second line, and unconscious externalization, similar to the 1-4. So your conscious 2 would prefer to be left alone to do your own thing, while your unconscious 4 wants to connect with others and externalize its gifts and talents to the network. Famous 2-4s, Otto von Bismarck, Francisco Franco, Oprah Winfrey, and Barbra Streisand. So the 2-4 is the naturally gifted and talented, projecting out who they are, and needs to be called out by their network. Again, so the Rolodex that Lynette was talking about, very, very important to the 2-4. The 2-4 profile hopefully gets the call from their network that is the call and gets to externalize their natural gifts and talents. Again, the 2-4 having these natural gifts and talents that they project out and aren't necessarily aware of, but their network will see them. So 2-4 profile, the hermit opportunist.
I also remember Raw calling this the missionary profile. Because the 2's like, so people are seeing that the 2 has a natural talent. They're like, come on, come and do it. How do you do that? You're so awesome. Come on. And the 2's like, leave me alone. I'm a hermit. Leave me alone until they get the right call. And once they get the right call, they're off and running like a missionary. This is the best thing ever. You've got to try it. And then they'll really go. And they'll go out to their network and tell their network all the stuff about this cool thing. But it's got to be the right kind of the right call for them. So I've also heard, and this is kind of weird, I don't know if it's true, you guys can tell me, but I've heard that 2-4s don't like to have their stuff moved around. They don't want other people moving around their stuff. And the 2-4s that I know, it's kind of true. I just think that's interesting. And again, you're like Ruth said, it's natural talents that they're not aware of. They don't know that they have natural talents, right? But it's this push and pull of aloneness and friendliness, and eventually, yeah, when they get the right call, they can externalize to their network of people.
The energetic costume is projecting out its natural gifts and talents.
Yep.
Projecting out, it's the costume that the 2/4s are wearing on the stage of life. This energetic costume is just projecting out energetically all of their gifts and talents, and they just aren't aware.
Right. It's trippy to have a second line in your profile. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I do that thing. Yeah.
And we'll find the natural gifts and talents, in the totality of an individual's design. Yeah.
2 5s.
2 5. Another harmonic profile, the 2 and the 5. When we talk about the 1 and 4 was harmonic, equal distance. In the hexagrams, the 2 5, another right angled personal destiny. And again, we have conscious projection, and we come to unconscious universalization. So the conscious 2, again, would prefer to be left alone to do their own thing, and the unconscious 5 is waiting for a chance to lead and universalize its practical power. The 5th line, the heretic, needs to have something of practical value. Very, very important for the 5th line. Famous 5th line, 2 5s are Coco Chanel, Patty Hearst, James Garfield, and Mia Farrow.
This is an interesting profile. I don't know a lot of 2 5s in person. It's interesting in that you've got a double whammy projection here. You've got the 2 projecting outward that they have natural talents that they don't know that they have. And then you've got the 5th line body being projected onto that they can be a savior to somebody. Then you're taking in, you're putting out a projection, and it's a double whammy projection field. And the 5th line body is going to be attractive and seductive. And I really think, when you just sort of consider it, the 5th line is here to, how we said the hopes and dreams of humanity rest on the shoulders of the 5th line. The 5th line is here to offer something practical, like Ruth was saying before, and to many people, universalize it. So if you think about that, that's really got to be really attractive in order to do that, seductive in order to get people attracted. So yeah, it's a different kind of thing, because you've got a double projection. These people can be a bit hidden at times. It really depends on the whole design, but just as a profile, the 2 wants to be left alone, the hermit, and the 5 can end up being, a bit paranoid about the projection field, which is fine. If you're a 5th line and you're paranoid, you can just sit back and go, hey, my profile's working. I don't need to worry about that. And when the call comes, that 2nd line gets the call, then they can universalize a practical solution. So it's seductive. Yeah. You want to add anything before I go on to the next one?
Yeah, well, the 4th line is all about people they know. The 4th line is most comfortable, their tribe, their universe, or people that they know, or people that they know. And the 5th line is for the strangers. For the strangers, the 5th line is here to universalize practicality to the strangers, to people they don't know. Because of this seductiveness, the 5th line is almost always trustworthy when they're first met. And strategy and authority is always important. But for a 5th line, and I have a lot of personal experience with this, your strategy and authority is everything, because you engage in something that isn't correct and you can't fulfill the projection that has been projected on you. People are really mad. And that's kind of where we get the heretic, burned at the stake. 5th lines who don't live up to their what they were projected upon, that they can save the day and give something a practical use, then can become really, I don't want to say the word hated isn't good, but
trashed.
Their reputation suffers. So all you fifth lines out there, strategy and authority is so very important that you enter into things correctly so that it's the correct experience for you, so you don't get burned at the stake.
Right. Knowing the information, you've got strategy and authority will resolve it. It just works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of more heretics,
the 3-5, another right angle personal destiny, the martyr heretic. Okay, we have conscious adaptation and unconscious externalization. So again, the conscious 3 undergoes this discovery process, the trial and error, to gain wisdom, while the unconscious 5 attracts projections from others to pull them out of crisis, to save the day with practical solutions. The assistant director of the International Human Design School, Becky Black, is a 3-5. And we also have Indira Gandhi, Shirley MacLaine, Anais Nin, and Willie Nelson, a 3-5.
I remember here Ross saying too that if there's one profile that says, "Why me?" it's this one. Right. So it's like, think about it, you guys. Consciously, if you're a 3-5, you're in the world doing your trial and error thing, all right? And you're okay with that, right? Hopefully you got a sense of humor, you're bumping into life, you're spilling the milk. Stuff's bumping into you, and you're like, oh, there's the trial and error. But the fifth line body is, people are showing up and projecting on you that you can fulfill their expectations, right? And here you are in your life just bumping into things. So you can really see how these people can metaphorically get burned at the stake. Has that been your experience, Ruth, talking to 3-5s?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they are tough as nails, though.
Yep. Resilient. Remember, whatever profile you are, whatever your design is, it's perfect and you're built for it. So don't have a sense of humor. And like Ruth was saying before, strategy and authority and that fifth line. If you're a fifth line, people are going to talk about you behind your back. They're going to talk about you to your face. It's just that projection field. You don't need to worry about that. But it'll just work for you and kind of take over your life if you're correct with your strategy and authority. But yeah, it's a really resilient profile. And these people, yeah, they're really attracting the projections. So just something to be aware of. It's a fun profile. Yeah, and they can be these third lines can be, because they've learned so many things about all the stuff that doesn't work through trial and error, they can really be so valuable on the material plane. Yeah, so there's good stuff.
Great outer authority.
Yeah, for sure. They really can. Yeah, 3-5 profiles. We love you guys. We need all of this. We need all of this energy. Do you want to add anything before I go on?
Of course, Ra talked a lot about fifth lines because he had a fifth line in his profile. He also said that fifth lines can feel kind of alone. It can be lonely because you don't feel anybody gets you.
And it's so hard to see through the projection yourself. Right. Yeah, I see that with my daughter. She's a 5-1. Okay. Then we make the movement over to the 3-6 profile. A little bit different here.
Yes, another harmonic profile and a right angle personal destiny again, the martyr role model. So putting together all the things we've heard, we have conscious adaptation, again, trial and error, and now unconscious transition. And I'm going to let Lynette speak a little bit on the early years for a 3-6 profile, because they really are then a 3-3. If we talked about the tri-part process that the 6 line goes through. The conscious 3 learns through the often messy trial and error process, while the unconscious 6 emerges as a wise authority and a role model, as a living example of what has been learned by their messy trial and error process early on. Enrico Caruso, Dustin Hoffman, Jerry Lewis, and Elizabeth Clare Prophet, some famous 3/6s.
Right. Yeah, so what you were saying about being a 3/3. So remember what we were saying in the beginning, that if you have a 6 line in your profile, you go through a tripart life process. So up to about your Saturn return 29-ish, you're in the 3rd line phase. So before you get to your Saturn return and you turn 29, whatever it is, your cycle date, is it's like trial and error on the personality side and trial and error on the body side. Then you go up under the roof, and then it's like, holy crap, what was that all about? And then you that's what it felt like to me, because I'm a 6/2, but still it's like you go up under the roof. But it's different. It's different for me than it is for like a 3/6 or a 6/3, because the 3rd line is really, really connected to the mundane world. So they're going to get pulled off the roof and back into the mix more so than if you didn't have a 3rd line in your profile. So, honoring your strategy and authority, again, is going to be, obviously, help you with any precarious situation, which we all have. But there can be, there are always challenges for all of us. So here it's kind of like this. You have the roof phase, past your Saturn return, and the needing to be in the world. So lots of adaptation. The role model quality comes in. 3/6s and 6/3s are incredibly wise people. That's what I found in kind of just talking to them, living correct as themselves and bringing that trial and error gift. So, yeah. So you think about it that way, and it's really interesting. And then, when you get to the Chiron, that's when you really can live out and flower as a role model. So it's a good one. I don't know too many, but I know that they're super wise. Okay, Ruth.
And you can tell me if you think this is correct, what I've learned from the few 3/6s and 6/3s that I know is that the 3rd line, the personality 3rd line in this profile is really resilient. It's built for the trial and error, for the messiness of everything. The 6th line profile in those early years going through the trial and error, not as resilient. And some of the wisdom and the authority that the 3/6 and 6/3 profiles have later on is from the 3rd line process of the 6th line, or the things they aren't as resilient about. And then those wounds, those lessons learned that they aren't as resilient about, becomes a source of deep wisdom and part of what they're here to be a living example of, a role model of, are those things that they weren't as resilient during their 3rd line process of being a 6th line.
Right. And just as a little thing to add here, I don't like to scare anybody, but if you've got a 6th line in your profile, you're very mutative. And honoring your strategy and authority is really, it's important for everybody, but especially a 6th line, there can really be challenges here. If you come off the roof and you're not correctly living as yourself, your body, remember, we're objects flying through space. So, Rob was really, pretty adamant about saying there can be health challenges here. There can be, you've got to be correct. So strategy and authority will resolve all of that. But yeah, 6/6 lines are mutative, very mutative. So yeah, that's a really good point. Thanks, Ruth. All right, let's see what the next one is. Okay, there we go.
The 4/6, another right angle personal destiny, the opportunist role model. Here we come to a very different experience. We have conscious externalization and unconscious transition. So your conscious 4 yearns for connection and quality relationships, while your unconscious 6 experiences trial, error, and discovery in earlier years until emerging later in life to model what it means to live uniquely as yourself. So famous 4/6s, Paloma Picasso, Robert Kennedy, David Beckham, and Manuel Noriega. The 4/6.
Thanks. Yeah, so opportunist role model, looking for the right opportunities to externalize to their network as a role model of themselves. So this is somebody that can be friendly, looking for opportunities in their relationships so they can get out whatever they've learned with the wisdom of that 6th line, get that thing out to other people. And you have the unconscious 6 on the body side that's here to live out the role model aspect. When we say role model, it's being a role model of your correct self, right? Whatever. Remember, like Ruth said in the beginning, human design is amoral. This is about you being correct and expressing whatever differentiated aspect is within you over time. So this is also called the influential role model, because 4s can be really influential within their network. So yeah, networking, brotherhood, sisterhood, friendship before romance. With the 4th line, these are some things that can kind of come up. Having that capacity to step back and see the bigger picture, you know, that bird's eye view with the 6th line. Yeah, so this is a really influential role model type of profile. You ready to go on to the next one?
Let's do it.
Okay. There she is, Lynda Bunnell.
Yay, we miss you, Lynda. We have the 4/1 profile, the only juxtaposition, fixed fate profile, a very unique profile, the opportunist investigator. So we have conscious externalization and unconscious introspection in a very fixed, like a train on a track, trajectory in life. They have somewhere they're going and they cannot be derailed. So fabulously interesting. Conscious externalization and unconscious introspection. So the conscious 4 yearns for connection and quality relationships and no waves. Things just, everybody please just be nice. While the unconscious 1 focuses on grasping the foundation of whatever you're interested in so you can communicate it to others. And you can see how Lynda has done this with human design and the school and the books she's written and been involved in. So famous 4/1s, Johnny Versace, Richard Harris, Andrew Lloyd Webber, and Barbara Walters. The 4/1.
Thank you. So yeah, you guys, this is the most rigid profile. Okay, and you think of like a tree kind of blowing in the wind. They're not really meant to be bent so much. Their trajectory is solid. It's more solid in a sense, and it's meant to be rigid. And like Ruth was saying, I love having, you know, just Lynda being the director at the IHDS. I just, you know, she's got her way of doing things. And I love that she holds the line as we bring this information forward. You know, our goal here really is to put everything, keep it as clean as possible in the way that Ra communicated it. And she does an amazing job at that. So, you know, the four, this is a profile too that can be really exhausted. Alone time is super important because whenever you've got a 4th line in your profile, it's friendly. You're going to have network people around, right? So you can still be alone and maintain your network by things like telephone, texting, Skype, email. I mean, it's so easy nowadays to do that without actually being in aura. So you can get your alone time. But yeah, they do need that. And then you've got a network where you can externalize the foundation that you've deeply investigated. So really, this is a profile, and not to get too into this, but it's a bridge between the upper and lower profiles. So if you think of a bridge, you guys, from one place to another, if that's not solid, you're not going to be able to cross the bridge. So it's really meant to be rigid and solid and, you know, doing their own thing. And the 4's never off duty. So Yeah, it's a really, it's one of these profiles that we, you know, just like everything else, we really need.
Mhm.
Yeah. You ready to go on?
And rigid is not a bad thing.
No.
The rigidness, the fixed direction, the trajectory that this profile has is so very important for us to get from the right to the left. And if we looked at all the profiles and the angles and how it all works together, you can see that together all of these 12 profiles create like this spiral beautiful effect together to get us from one to the other. Yeah.
Yeah, we need all of it. We need our bridges. We need our foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is, like she said, it's not a bad word. We need it.
Yes, it's a good thing.
There she is, Ruth.
And here, the 5-1 profile. We now get to the left angle, transpersonal destinies, which where personal destiny, your purpose is fulfilled through your accomplishments, your achievements. It's very internal. For the left angle folks, transpersonal, your destiny is fulfilled through your interaction with others. And every single person you meet and interact with as a left angle is here for a reason. Some people say the personal destinies are here with the clean slate creating karma, and the left angles are here resolving karma. So people you meet, you have some karma to resolve with them somehow. So the 5-1, the heretic investigator. Conscious universalization and unconscious introspection. So the conscious 5 projects out that you have something that others need. So people are projecting on you that you have something for them. You can solve a problem in somehow. While the unconscious 1 works to establish a strong foundation of knowledge, which you can then provide practical solutions to. So I can tell you I am a researcher, a studier, an investigator, and I don't even see it happening because it's in the body, it's unconscious. Somebody asks a question or I see something I'm interested in and boom, I'm gone. And if it's correct for me and if I'm interested, I will study it until the cows come home. I really, really will. Ra was a 5-1, and Frank, Neil Armstrong, and Buckminster Fuller. 5-1 profiles.
You guys are amazing. You guys are, I mean, I'm just beginning to grok the 5-1. So like I said before, I've got, my daughter is a 5-1. I've got a 6-2 child, a 1-4 child, and a 5-1 child. And my daughter's chart looks a lot like Ruth's chart. You know, of course, they're not the same people, but they're very, very similar. And I've never met more practical people in my entire life. If there's something that I need researched or I have a question about, which kid do you think I call? I call the 5-1 because if she doesn't know, she's going to investigate it if it's correct for her, and she's going to research it. And typically, whenever we're talking about something, she'll say, "Oh, well, I know about that," and she'll put out facts that she's learned. And I'll be like, "Wow." I mean, it's crazy the amount of practicality that 5-1s have is, and like she says, or, you know, Ruth said, it's like she doesn't even know that she's doing it. It's this natural ability they have where their body just investigates to get that authority, and then they can share it in a practical way. It's amazing. I mean, they just absolutely amaze me. So there's a karmic connection here again. It can take a long time to really get to know yourself if you're a 5-1, because, you know, remember that projection field is there. And sometimes even with my daughter, and even with Ruth, I'm like, am I projecting on her? Even when I know about it, I'm still kind of catching myself and I'm not even sure. And, you know, they sometimes can't see past that projection field themselves. That's what I've learned. So it can take a while to get to know yourself. But it's amazing, you know, like we said, the hopes and dreams lie on the shoulders of the 5th line. It's the exalted line of the hexagram. Yeah, and I see it now. I see it, and they're amazing. So, yeah, practical people. Anything else you want to add here?
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
5-1.
I can't tell you how many emails. Ruth, will you help me? I'm always asking her for help. Okay, the 5-2. Then you come to the 5-2, and that's, again, it's very different.
The left angle, again, transpersonal destiny, the heretic hermit. So conscious universalization, again with the 5, and unconscious projection with the 2. Again, you know, a double projection field, but flipped. So the conscious 5 and its practical solutions are waiting for the unconscious 2 and its natural gifts and talents to internalize a call to share its knowing with others. So when we look at it with the conscious 5 and the unconscious 2, these people have to internalize a call. They call themselves out in a certain way rather than waiting for the network to call them out. Known as the reluctant heretic that lives in a dual projection field. So you'll remember we talked about the 2-5, and Lynette, what did you call it? The something dual projection field?
The double whammy is what I said, the dual projection field, yeah.
Yeah, the reluctant heretic. So this heretic calls itself out.
Okay.
Abraham Lincoln, Franz Schubert, Coretta Scott King, and Mike Wallace, some famous heretic hermits.
I love that, the reluctant heretic. Mm-hmm. So the ability to universalize their own natural talents and gifts. Whoa, that's pretty, yeah, think about that. So unlike the 5-1s that have karma with others, it said that 5-2s carry their own karma within. Okay, so they have to live out something based on what they lived out in the past, but they are the ones that have to discover it. Wow. So, yeah. You know, like we said, an intense projection field, projecting out with the natural talents, projecting onto that they have, you know, abilities to save people and help people and deliver solutions, which they do. And the hermit wants to hide out. But, you know, they will get that call. Naturally, innately good at things, the natural. 5th line likes to retreat to, like the general. Knowing when to advance, knowing when to retreat is really important. They're very sensitive to being in public. And it's said that they can hoard their own aura so they're not being projected on all the time because it's a big projection field. So, yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, the 5th lines do well going into a situation and then retreating, like Lynette said. I belong to a lot of groups, a lot of communities here around where I live, and I'm part of the group, but I always feel like I'm skirting on the outskirts. So I come in, but then I need time alone. The 5th lines like to go in and share what they have to share and then get out and relax so that they don't have a continuous projection on them about what they'll do. So it kind of saves the 5th line to come in and out. So the 5-2, the 5-2, excuse me, would have, you know, that happening in both directions then. Yeah, they need to hide out. They need to be a hermit. They need time alone, but they also have to go out and share as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you've got a 5th line in your profile, the advance and retreat we're talking about, you know, like we said, the way that a 5th line, this is just the way it works because it's a universal, really attractive, seductive quality they have. The way that they get exalted in their life is by their reputation. The way that they get trashed in their life is by their reputation. So you got to get really good at knowing when to advance and when to retreat. So if you do something that is, you know, practical and it's seductive and amazing, and you're at work and you do this project and everybody's like, oh, wow, you're so great. This was so great. That's amazing. That's amazing. And you get all this good feedback. Don't say a word. Slink into the shadows. Let people talk about how awesome you are. But if they bring it up to you, don't keep bringing it up. Don't bring it up, because what can happen here is it's hard to explain, but new projections get added onto the old ones and it gets weird. So learn how to just let your reputation build. Retreat, go play golf, watch Netflix, let them talk. And then when it's time to advance with something new, then you can advance again. But learn how to advance and retreat in a timely way. It's a really good tip for a fifth line. Okay. That's me.
There she is.
Do you want to read the first part and then I'll
Lynette.
talk about it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The 6-2 profile, a left angle, transpersonal destiny again, the role model hermit, conscious transition, and unconscious projection. So your conscious 6 is interested in the broader view and may appear aloof while waiting for your unconscious 2 to be called to share its natural gifts and talents as a unique, capable, and wise authority. Other 6-2s that are famous: Barack Obama, Charles de Gaulle, George Lucas, and Henry Ford. Lynette?
It's crazy being a 6-2 profile. So where I'm at in my tripart life phase is my Chiron date has passed. So I'm integrating into my Chiron. It takes about 3.5 years in, 3.5 years out of these cycles. Once you hit the date, you don't just hit it. So I'm off the roof. And you know how I was saying that 6 lines are mutative and they really need to come off when you come off the roof, that protective quality is no longer there, because being on the roof is really nice, okay? When you come off the roof in your Chiron, if you're a 6 line, that protective quality is gone. So it's really important that you're living correctly as yourself, following your strategy and authority. And I got to tell you guys, I needed every last second to prepare for my Chiron. You know, I really did. So it gets to be really amazing, but I won't get into that. So really here, role model hermit, and the role model is being correct as yourself. And I like to tell people, it just feels like for me personally that I'm held to the fire of correctness, if that makes any sense. What that means is I got to walk my talk. There's no BSing here. There's no fooling people. If I say I'm going to do something, or I can't just, say stuff and then have it not be true for me, because I'm going to get in trouble if I do. There's just, you've got to live by your own sort of integrity. And because you're really, if you're a 6-2 profile, you're here to represent that role model quality, whatever that means. And then the hermit wants to be left alone. I spend so much of my time alone. I love being alone. And here to be an objective observer. Everybody's in a different part of their tripart process. And when you descend from the roof at your Chiron after your 50s, you're really here to be in the world. It's not like you're doing anything. And yeah, remember your profile, you don't have to do anything about this. Just be yourself. If you're being yourself and you're loving yourself and you're following your strategy and authority, these profiles just take over your life. But yeah, I love being a 6-2. Yeah, I feel like I have my head in the ethers most of the time. You ready to go on to the last one?
Yes, ready.
Okay.
And we get to the 6-3, another left angle transpersonal destiny, the role model martyr. And remember, we talked about the 3-6. We are now to the 6-3, which is conscious transition and unconscious adaptation. So your conscious 6 is constantly pulled into subjective experiences to gain wisdom, while your unconscious 3 continually learns through trial and error. The body continues to go through trial and error. When you live authentically as yourself, you have potential to be the wisest role model of all. And famous 6-3s include Steve Jobs, Paulo Coelho, Dan Rather, Serena Williams, to name a few. The 6-3. Lynette.
Brilliant. They can just be, I remember hearing Lynda say, the sage of sages. Mm-hmm. Randy Richman, anybody that knows Randy Richman, he was a 6-3 profile. Yep. Incredible people. They not only have that role model objective perspective, which they're here to have, but they've got all of that trial and error experience from the mundane world, the trial and error, bumping into life and really learning about it and then being able to share it, you know, and they're pulled back down into that. They don't just get to hang out in the sixth line ethers all the time. The body is a third line. It's getting pulled down into the world. So, you know, they've been through so many challenging experiences in their life with that trial and error that they just have the ability, if they're lucky, to laugh at themselves, you know, to have a sense of humor. And if they're correct, these people can be incredibly wise. Yeah. Sage of sages. I always remember that Lynda said that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And so describes Randy Richmond so well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And a great sense of humor. Just what are you going to do but laugh, you know? Yeah.
I love to share this story that he was the person who reviewed my Analyst final exam. And I sent it to him, and Randy was a projector. And I sent it to him, and I said, here's my exam for review at your earliest convenience. I invite you to review it at your earliest convenience. He writes me back, and he says, Ruth, it's almost convenient. He was so funny. Yeah, I appreciated that humor.
Yeah, me too. Always could make me laugh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of our profiles. And we have not too much time, but a little bit of time. Ruth, do you feel like you want to take some questions?
Absolutely. And I'd just like to close by saying that we talked about profiles kind of in a bubble, and just at the very surface of what they are. And of course, this energetic costume we wear around every other aspect of our individual designs. So they express so very differently and uniquely through each and every one of our own designs. So it's not possible in an hour and a half webinar to weave all the different pieces together. Profile is something that when you start to understand it and embrace it and not fight it or judge it, becomes this wonderfully well-fitting piece of protection that you can wear and embrace and love yourself with. I know particularly some of the people I know that have third lines can be very, very hard on themselves. And what I'd like to say to all third lines is, wow, you are designed to learn things so very, very deeply, not only for yourself, but for the rest of humanity. So your trial and error, your discovery process is so very, very valuable, and there's nothing wrong with it. So let's see. I'm going to go to the Q&A. It looks like we have a few questions.
Can you access it?
I can.
Okay.
From Rebecca Barker. I am a 4/6 profile, birthday 1/2068. How do I know when my Chiron return is? Do I need to consult an astrologer? Most any analyst, Rebecca, can look at your chart and do a cycle chart and tell you the date that you'll be entering your Chiron return as far as human design goes. Because there is, there's a design date that you start to emerge into each cycle and a personality date. I don't know. I've actually never checked if it's the same in astrology as it is in human design. Lynette, do you know?
I don't know. But Rebecca, if you can't find it, just send me an email at office@ihdschool.com, and I'll give you the date.
I would guess, Rebecca, based on your birthday, that you are at least in that 3.5-year transition to your Chiron return, if not already in it, based on your birthday. And Sam Mitchell asks, I'm a 3-5 profile with a cross of service. How does that affect my profile? Lynette, would you like to take that?
Well, I mean, we'd have to see your whole chart, Sam, so we can't really get into that, crosses and stuff like that. But the question is, you're born on the cross of service, and for those of you that don't know what that is, it's the incarnation cross is the general description of what aspect you're here to live out. So you're in service to what? I don't know. Follow your strategy and authority, but it's really that cross of service is going to be fraught with trial and error and practicality, and it's going to carry all of the qualities that we talked about with the profile. How does that sound, Ruth?
That's probably the best explanation without actually getting to see your chart, Sam.
Yeah.
And then Waterman asks, could it be worthwhile to mention the lines of the 10th gate? And Waterman, absolutely. There were so many things we could have mentioned and gone through today to help better explain this, but with a 60-minute webinar, which actually went a little over today, there was just no way. So we took a very basic surface look at the profiles. But yes, the lines of the 10th gate get us a lot of additional information. Karen asks, I am a 6'2" in my late 60s and have been living my strategy for the past year. How does friendship or initiation of it figure in for 6'2"s?
I don't think I understand that question. Do you?
I don't think so. Karen, would you like to type in a little clarification or ask a more specific question? And then we'll try to get it answered. Rebecca is asking for the next class date. And Lynette, we were going to schedule a Q&A event.
Which we have not done yet.
For next month.
Pending.
It is pending. There will be an email going out with a copy of the recording or a link to the recording of this class. And hopefully Lynette and I can get a date for the next webinar, which is going to be Q&A on all the things we've talked about so far. So thank you, Rebecca, for asking. Oh, okay, so Karen, I am a generator with a wait to respond strategy. Does it mean I cannot initiate a friendship? Wow, that is a brilliant question and probably one that everybody has asked. Lynette?
If you're a generator, your aura is open and enveloping. It's pulling life to you. And this isn't about figuring out anything. It's just about being open to life. And it's not always, going to be super verbal. It's just going to be a response. Are you responding to a friendship with somebody? That's a response. So if you're being correct, it's going to be a response. And in a sense, you could say that is how you initiate, okay? But it initiates like, meeting somebody, I really like you, let's hang out. I mean, it's more of a response and getting into an energetic exchange with somebody and responding to a friendship. I don't know. Ruth, you being a generator might be able to say more about that.
The semantics can get pretty confusing, but I think all types can initiate, can move towards something when it's correct for them. So if you've met someone and you responded, your energy moves towards that person, then that is a response or an initiation of a continuation. So if I meet someone and they say, hey, would you like to go to lunch? And I go, uh-huh. That is the person has asked me a question and I have responded. So in a way, that's initiating a friendship or living a life of response to what comes towards you and what your energy moves towards. Mm-hmm. So it's really a very natural flow of things if you don't think about it too much.
Yeah, that is so true. This just sort of happens. So Karen, initially you said you were a 6'2" profile. So look, people that are really gonna, kind of get you, they're probably going to sense that you have natural talents because you're putting them out there, and they're going to sense that wisdom of the sixth line, since you're already, depending on, obviously this is the lofty ideal, but they're going to sense the wisdom of the sixth line there, and then when they show up, they're like, wow, Karen, you're really neat. That's, how do you do that thing? And I mean, sometimes I have people tell me, even like from high school days, that they thought that I had like a wisdom, and it always cracks me up. I'm like, me? No. But that's the 6-2 for you. So then you'll either energetically respond to that, or make a sound, yeah, to a question or something, or a movement, a response, an opening, or you won't. Yeah, strategy and authority, whole deal.
And there's just a natural energy to things, what you're pulled towards, what you're drawn to, just the normal interaction of walking down the street and a birdie singing and you turn over and smile, when we don't spend so much time in our minds, we can relax into this natural flow of our energy and engagement with the world and other people's energy.
That's the best, when you get to that point and you're just like, oh, I don't have to figure anything out. Life's just happening. Even me as a manifestor, I'm just like, oh, okay, I have the will for this, or I don't, based on my authority.
Okay, Olga says, I'm a manifestor for 6. I should initiate friendship or just inside my network? Okay. So great question. And since Lynette is a manifestor, I'm going to let her answer this question for you. And if you have a 4 in your profile, it doesn't mean the only people that you can be involved with are in your network. It just means that your network is very important to fulfilling your purpose. And Lynette, initiating friendship.
Well, for the first word that stabbed me in the heart was should. There's no should here. There's only what's correct for you. So, Olga, what's your authority? Are you an emotionally defined manifestor? Do you know what your authority is? I'm just waiting to see if you type something in. Follow your strategy and authority. That's the answer to everything, you guys. So I have started a couple new friendships recently where my mind was absolutely certain that I don't want to be friends with that person, but my authority was telling me yes. So I went ahead and trusted my body, and they've been amazing friendships so far. Follow your strategy and authority, and it's intuition. So you're splenic. Okay. So did your spleen hit? You're a manifestor, right? Did your spleen hit? And if you're not sure, you can play with it, play with it. You don't have to be so rigid that you're going to make yourself crazy, but you can experiment with it and see, because the spleen, when we talked about a little bit about authorities, the spleen can be tricky to get in touch with until you can really hear it. It's much faster than the mind. So, yeah, feel it out, see what happens. Not feel it out, but yeah, if you can't remember and just want to experiment with it, go for it and see what happens. I think you're going to know if it's going to work. And if it's somebody that's not inside your network, you guys, I'm all about experimenting with the information. Okay. This is about each person finding what's true for them in their own body and their mechanics. So I would say experiment with it.
Absolutely. And if you have a 4 in your profile, we talk about your network being very important. That doesn't mean that you're not designed to interact with other people as well. Me as a 5th line, I'm more designed for strangers, but I belong to many different communities, but I interact with them using the costume of my 5-1. I'm in, I'm out. Again, if we stay out of our mind, and I know it's hard to, when you first get the information, we're getting bullet points and lists, it's hard to synthesize everything together. And that's why getting a reading from a certified analyst can be so very helpful, because they help create the story, synthesize all these little bullet points together to make more sense for you. Yeah, lots of questions that I'm sure we could answer if we had more time, but Lynette, I think it's 11:20
Yep.
where we are. And if there are no more questions, probably time to say goodbye.
Yeah, I think this is a good place for us to sign off. And, oh, we got one more. Mary, let's see, hold on. Maybe just take one last one. Mary, are you going to type in your question? Let me see if it's in the chat. Sorry, Ruth.
No, please.
Okay, Mary, I don't see it. So I'm going to just go ahead and let you come next time we do the date for the Q&A, and you can ask your question then.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm just double checking. I think we answered everybody's questions in the Q&A. All right.
Okay, next steps. We've got a mailing list. Would you like to start your experiment? We invite you to join our mailing list. You can get our newsletters. We've got something on there also called the Daily View. And like Ruth said, we'll try and do our next email out that's going to have the Q&A. I'm sorry, that says profiles, but that's supposed to say it's a Q&A, sorry. Anyway, yeah, we'll try and get the date on there so you guys can register the next one and have your questions ready. You can get your chart if you don't have it. You can get a personal report. You can order that on the IHDS website as well. There's a whole list of certified listed professionals in human design, and you can find an analyst to get a reading. You can sign up for a Living Your Design workshop. That's the first recommended class. And if you guys have any questions, just email me. If you email office@ihdschool.com, you'll get me. We will send out an email with links for more information to all of these things. So this was fun, Ruth.
Yes, Lynette, thank you. And thank you everyone who attended. It's been so much fun doing these 4 workshops on the basics of human design. So thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at the Q&A.
Okay, thanks everybody so much. I'll send out a recording too for those of you that had to leave. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye, Lynette. Thank
Bye,
you.
Ruth.